Well, my name's Norm Pratt, and I work professionally as what I call a spiritual intuitive, which is sort of another name for psychic, but I'm not crazy about the word psychic because there's so many negative connotations associated with that word. Everybody sort of has an impression of what a psychic is, and it's not always very favorable. And for me, it feels like a very intuitive process, so I'm inclined to say intuitive, and spiritual only because it tends to be dealing with spirits. And for me, it is sort of a spiritual journey, a journey of learning about purpose and meaning of what it is to be alive and how to apply intuitive ability in the world and how I live and where I go and what I do, and sort of relying on intuition and intuitive guidance. So today we're heading south out of Calgary to a town called Turner Valley, where a double murder was committed about 10 years ago. I think it was September 3rd, 1996. Mother and daughter were murdered in their home. I'm not just sure at the moment of what the manner of murder was, but the home was burned afterwards to try to cover up the crime. And it's a little different for me to do it this way. This is a case that our executive producer arranged for me to go and be involved in. And normally I only get involved in missing person or major crime cases when I'm invited either by the police that are working on the case or by the family that's been impacted by the disappearance or the murder. So it's a little different. I feel like I'm really coming into what is a cold case, 10 years old and hasn't been solved, but also for me very cold in that I haven't been contacted by a family member. And in this particular case, I don't really feel like I've been contacted by a spirit in any big way either. So far around this case in Turner Valley, the victims' names are Jane and Catherine Johnson, mother and daughter. And so far I haven't really felt the mother to speak of, but I think I have tuned into the daughter. My initial sense of this case was that it would be the daughter that would end up communicating with me, and that seems to be bearing out. Oh, man. I think now it's time to fuel up and have something to eat and just let things kind of evolve in the natural course of the day. So if we fuel up and eat and maybe have a little downtime for a meditation and then start visiting some of the hot spots, what I would call the hot spots, the house where they were murdered and the house that burned down. Also because I feel that the perpetrator is an ex-boyfriend and there's a known location for where he lives. I'm inclined to go there just to see if I pick anything up and intuitively try to glean any information that might be there to be gleaned. And I'd like nothing better to help provoke movement on this case for this family. So that's what it's about. It's if we can help them, let's go do it.
My name is Sam Johnson. I was the father of Catherine Johnson, who was killed in Turner Valley, and the ex-husband of Jane Johnson. And we all still got along real good, and we were still very much a family. First thing in the morning on kind of a rainy day, and phone rang, and at the time Marla's sister had been sick, and we were worried that that's what it was. And it turned out that it was Catherine and Jane had been killed in a house fire. It's changed my life considerably. Not having Catherine in it for the last 10 years has been pretty dramatic for me, my wife, and my son even, because like he's 10 years old now, and you can tell there's questions coming up now. Like what happened and why.
Since the case was brought to my attention, that's something I might be involved in, I have done a couple of meditations where basically I'm sort of asking for information and creating an opening for information to come. And the way I do that is just sitting quietly in a chair, meditating at home in the living room, kind of clearing my mind and just being really quiet. And quiet but focused, open, kind of an open awareness. And sometimes when I do that, I'll have an experience of information just sort of entering into my mind. And in psychic jargon, that's called claircognizance, which is clear knowing. And it's when you just know something. There's really no explaining it. There's no easy way to define what's happened or measure it or explain it to somebody, but you just know. And I think lots of people have had experiences with just knowing something, whether it's just knowing the phone's going to ring, or I just knew my friend was sick, or I just knew I needed to go do this right now. And that's something that happens for me a lot. Not just in meditation, it can happen anytime. So when we were here before, I kept feeling pulled into these woods on this golf course. And so we've decided to follow up on that rather than head back for Calgary and end the day. For me, I'd like to do that actually, because I'd like to go home and watch the hockey game. But it would feel premature. It doesn't feel right. It's like, no, we're not done yet. There's something else we need to do. And right now, it's basically, I just want to go out in these woods for a minute. Probably not very long, just enough to feel like I've done it and see if anything comes up energetically. And yeah, I feel like what we're doing now is we're actually looking for the murder weapon. And that is a knife. And, you know, I have no idea what to expect, but it feels like a possibility, so let's just follow through, and then at least I won't go away and have regrets that I didn't follow up on something that, you know, became strong enough that it's really urging me to do that. So that's the next step. And then from meeting Sam again, you know, we kind of went another step with him, and now he's, you know, kind of wanting us to take a particular route when we do go to see where the perpetrator lives. And Sam feels pretty strongly that this guy may have taken that route after murdering Jane and Catherine and burning the house down, that he probably took this back exit through the golf course. Did he discard the knife in these woods? I don't know. It's possible. It feels likely. And then took a real direct shot home, and Sam has drawn us, or given us very specific directions on how to follow that actual trail. And he seemed to feel really strongly about us doing it too, so I'm going to honor that, and that feels good for me. So.
And so what are you going to take out of this, the 2 days that he was here? What are you going to take out of it?
Well, he brought to me a whole new, I guess, respect for the psychic powers. I had a bit of an experience that morning myself before Norm came that I've never had before. I was laying in bed, and all of a sudden it was like there was a slideshow going on through my head. And when I discussed it with Norm later, he says, yeah, well, that actually is a bit of a psychic thing going on there. And that's never happened to me before, ever. And it was quite an experience, actually.
Okay, and you would say that was brought about because of Norm's involvement?
Well, I'm 40-some years old. It's never happened before, so it's a little coincidental that it would happen the morning that Norm's coming, the first psychic I've ever spoken to. So, yeah, I'm pretty sure it had something to do with that. Well, of the images that I did see that morning, there was an image of a pond that came up 3 different times. And normally when you have a picture of a pond, it's a nice, beautiful pond with the ducks and everything nice and pretty and everything. Well, this pond wasn't. It was kind of a dirty pond with almost looked like polluted water in it. And it's funny that that particular image would come up 3 times the first time that I ever had this happen to me. So it's something that I definitely want to pursue a little further.
You know, it really hasn't been about the perpetrator for me or the murder weapon or anything like that so far. It's been about working with the family a little bit and, you know, maybe telling them a little bit about what I do and what the possibilities are and how I understand things and what I'm picking up, and transmitting a little bit of what the spirits are saying and feeling, and certainly I think some of that got conveyed today. And I really wasn't sure what to expect with Sam coming, but it just feels like everything went to the next step of, you know, phase 1 was meeting the family this morning and just kind of making a connection and maybe doing a little bit of healing work with them. and just initiating something. You know, it's not like it all happens in a moment, but there's something special about initiating it.